Hey everybody, got another video here for you. Okay, I got the memory on the cell phone here cleared out. Got it all copied over to the PC. Actually ended up with enough footage for 4 episodes, so way to go me, I guess, or whatever. But way back when, in our last exciting episode, I was in the process of masking off the neck here for painting, so I'm going to pick up with that again. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, pinstriping tape would be the preferred choice for doing this edge, but this stuff will work. Even with pinstriping tape, if you want to, okay, here's the deal, is that you have to do one of two things. You either have to be able to perfectly mask or trim the tape so that it's exactly at this little line right here between the white and the brown wood. Or the other option for those of us who are not gods of pinstriping is you mask it down to just above the wood that you want to paint so that you get a little bit of overspray, and then you peel back your mask and you scrape your binding, so to speak, scrape the side of the fretboard, and that works for sure without having to get your tape absolutely perfect. Because if you come even, a tenth of a millimeter over this little line right here, then when you peel your stuff off, unless you have bleed through and are lucky, which of course is never going to happen, then you're going to be left with, in my case, this would be flat black. There'd be a little bit of white maple showing, and then there'd be the fingerboard in rosewood, which would not be the desired effect. So the way to avoid that for sure, if you're not, the god of pinstriping, is to mask it off the way I have here, and then when you come back to cut the tape, you have to be sure that you cut it only along the fingerboard so that the fingerboard is, the top of the fingerboard is masked. You don't have to really worry about the bottom half of the side, but you have to make sure that all of the maple on the neck is not masked. So you have to make sure that you make your cut on the fingerboard and not on the neck. And as long as you do that and then scrape it once you're done spraying, you're good. If you're like Chris from Texas Toast, supposedly is like one of the fastest tapes in the West, kind of a thing, and he can cut a straight line like nobody's business. But if you're not like that, then yeah, mask it like halfway down, and then trim it off at halfway down, get a little bit of overspray, scrape it off, and everything will look hunky-dory. So that's the approach I'm going to take. Okay, this stuff is dried overnight from the first coat. I don't remember if I told you what I'm using or not. This is the stuff I'm using. It's a Rust-Oleum flat protective enamel in a black, flat black. And these are the results. You can still see a little bit of grain through it. I'm thinking a second coat, maybe. Maybe a second coat. I shouldn't look at it through the camera. My camera has no screen left to speak of. And it turned out real nice. So I might give it a second coat, though, I think. But yeah, that's the kind of effect I'm looking for. A nice flat black. And this is an enamel finish, too, so this is going to be pretty durable. So here's the guitar after the second coat of paint, and everything's looking good. Got nice full coverage, even coverage all the way around. So I don't think a third coat's really required because everything's looking real nice, actually. Nice and uniform. So yeah, no drips, no runs, no errors, as they say. And I think a third coat, all it's going to do, it's not really going to make it any black or anything. It would just, very slight build. This stuff actually is not as high build as the glossy paint version is. But yeah, I think 2 coats is going to do it. So now it's on to the next step, which is painting on the hand crack lightning. Okay, before I get into doing the crack lightning thing, I'm going to go ahead and do the leg bar and the extension block for it. And I was sketching it out and trying to figure out if I could, slice some off and also figure out exactly where the holes need to go. But you can't really cut a whole bunch off. So I think I'm just going to start by cutting out a rectangular block for it off of this thing. You need to take like 10 mil off of it to get it down to the correct width, and then cut it off at the appropriate length, and then sand both these guys and paint them, and then everything will be at the same point, and then I can go ahead and do the gold crack lightning on all of it at the same time. And I was trying to figure out ways that I could cut this down or make it fancier or whatever, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot. What I'm going to go ahead and do is cut it out and mark it out, at least mark it out, if not drill it as well, and then think about maybe cutting it down and reshaping it to something cooler looking. I was trying some sketches, but nothing really looked cool enough to be worthy of the effort to make it. So start with the rectangle, see what happens. I think I'm going to be lazy and not rip 10 mil off of the edge of this thing and just, make it 5 mil wider on either side of the block. And then I can cut it down as needed. Whatever looks good. Okay, new plan. I decided to scale down the size of the extension block for the leg bar. So I'm being attacked by a cat. So yeah, I'm going to cut this. I've already marked it out on the wood. And I'm going to go ahead and, because the lines never show up well. But yeah, I've got basically this rectangle here marked out on the wood. and I'm going to go ahead and have at it on the mini table saw. Okay, I measured all the bolts and stuff, figured out what size drill bits to use and how deep the hole should be, and marked it all out. I'm going to go ahead and drill everything except for the park position hole, because what I want to do is kind of test assemble and then move it over to the park position and mark where the hole should be when I've got the strap lock at the end of the leg bar right at the spine of the neck, so it's hidden as much as possible. So I want to dial that in by hand, so to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and drill all the rest of this stuff first, though, and then I'll go ahead and shape it. It's, basically all I got to do is lop off this little bit. I'll probably just do that with the hand saw, and then, little Shinto rasp action, and maybe some sand, some belt sander. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.